All right, back with another one. We got Just Pearly Things, another Just Pearly Things video talking about how women lose their virginity easier than men. Let's get right into it. This is fair use. Shout out to Just Pearly Things.
1 in 3 men haven't had sex in the last year or are virgins. So, do you think it is easier for a man or a woman to lose their virginity?
Definitely easier for a woman to lose virginity.
Yeah,
Yeah?
by far.
Expand.
I mean, a guy has to, like, a girl can literally just raise her hand and, say who wants to do it with me, and a bunch of guys will flock her way.
She kind of just has to show up, right? Guys actually have to put in a lot of work to get laid and all, but to go from like
all day
kissless virgin to losing your virginity and having a girl like you, bit of a process. Right?
Mm. Do you think it's easier for women, would you say, Abby?
Yeah, but I think also it depends on your attractive level.
So do you think that women losing their virginity depends on their attractiveness? You get an ugly guy and an ugly woman. He's more likely to lose their virginity.
It's hard. It's because obviously.
I don't know. I'm kind of curious to how they'll answer this question, y'all. Let's continue.
How attractive you are is subjective, but I feel like typically attractive women are obviously going to lose it really easily. But women who aren't your typical, so like, I don't know, if you're maybe overweight or not your, like what your typical idea of good looking is, then obviously it's going to be harder, which might be on the same level as, I don't know, I can't explain it.
I think most people know that it's easier for a woman to get laid versus a man. Because if you look at what a woman has to do, what a man has to do, it's two completely different things. Most people know this already. We just most people haven't really sat around and actually talked about it genuinely. But let's continue.
Okay. You think men will find it harder to lose their virginity?
Well, I think men would find it hard to lose.
Or women, yeah.
I think, like, I'm a 35-year-old male and I haven't thought about losing my virginity since I was in my teenage years.
Was it hard for you?
No, like...
Really?
No, not at all. Like, it was just a natural process of becoming an adult. Yeah, like, the whole concept to me is quite foreign, that this is...
Was talking to women always easy for you? Because some guys say they, like, really struggle with it.
No, not really. No, it's like
it was always easy for you
to talk to women.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, for some guys out there, talking to women is going to be easier for some guys versus others. But let's continue.
Some guys, it's like not natural to them,
which is understandable.
Yeah. I mean, I think it can be intimidating.
It can be, but like, no, it wasn't for me. I grew up in quite a family with quite a lot of female influence, and yeah, I've never ever struggled to talk to women. So.
What do you think?
I would say it would be easier for women to lose their virginity, just because women are probably more selective about who they sleep with, and men are less because they just kind of want to get laid.
But then, if you're more selective, wouldn't it be harder?
I don't know about women being more selective. I don't know about that.
Generalized. Well, if you're more selective.
Yeah, if you're more selective, wouldn't it be harder?
Well, no, because you can afford to be selective when you have more options, I guess. If that makes sense.
Okay.
More women are more selective, so men, generalized.
So you think women have more options than
men? I think men are more.
Yes. Women typically do have more options in today's time, without question.
Willing to overlook certain.
Even if she's like average or just slightly above average
things in order to have sex, whereas women won't always do that. So women would be more selective in a lot of senses. They have, I guess, more.
Okay.
I don't want to say standards. It's not about standards, but just kind of what they would want to
boundaries.
Look for. Boundaries. Yeah, that's a good word for it. 100%.
So women have more boundaries. You said.
Yeah, I would say that there.
Speaking to the
Sorry, I would say that there is a need for women and people generally, but women to have boundaries, in order to not fall prey and trap to labels and titles that come with being promiscuous. I think that there's a medal behind virginity that men kind of want to hold. It's like, oh, I've lost my virginity. I want to tell everyone about it. I don't feel like there's that much of a medal behind it for girls. It's not like, oh, let me put a pin in this because I won.
Simply because, like they said, or like some of the guys here said earlier, a man has to put in a little bit more work, or significantly more work, to get laid versus a woman. 9 times out of 10, all she has to do is be willing to do it.
I think it's less of a there's not so much incentive for women to lose their virginity, whereas men, I feel like there's more of a, come on, you should do this, come on, you should do this, come on, you should do this, and there's a lot of toxicity behind that, as well as like ego that surrounds the label virginity as well.
So you think that there was more? You think there's more pressure on women or men to lose your virginity?
On men.
I would say on men.
You think it's on men?
Yes.
So.
Oh yeah, there's definitely more pressure on a man to have sex for the first time versus a woman, because it's like when you're young and you finally start noticing girls as a young boy, like you kind of want to, and you start hearing your friends talk about sex, or they say they've had sex already, allegedly. Sometimes they be capping, but at the end of the day, like it's always going to be a bit more pressure for a man, because a lot of times people look down on a man who hasn't had sex yet versus a woman. They're going to wonder something's wrong with him if he hasn't, if he's at a certain age and he hasn't had sex yet. But let's continue.
When you were like at school, when you were younger, like, because I mean, I remember me being at school, and there was like, you're still a virgin. Oh my God, you're still a virgin. Oh my God, what you still do?
That's where it typically starts, at school, like I said.
The virgin. And I think a lot of the time, guys got to the point where they would just lie about having lost their virginity. Like, so you didn't have the same thing as a woman?
No, and I wouldn't say that. I think it's really sad that anyone feels like they have to lie about something in order to be accepted within like peers and friend groups. And I don't feel like there was that sort of title that comes with losing your virginity in a female. I went to an all-girls school, and I don't feel there was any of that where I was at school.
So even at an all-girls school, there was no pressure?
No, I didn't.
Did girls not come in and say, look, I lost my virginity, yeah? Did they not do that?
Yeah, we did that.
Right, okay.
But there was certainly no pressure to do that. There was no like, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? It was a moment of pride as and when it happened. But I don't think it was something that, I don't think it was a necessity.
Right.
Like, I feel like, because I went to Catholic school, and I just feel like people didn't really care either way as a girl. Like, if you did, cool. If you didn't, cool. Like, yeah.
Were you looked down upon?
I mean, of course, depending on what school you went to, some kids may not have had that type of pressure. But I went to public school, and yeah, the pressure was there. I mean, I didn't really run into it a whole lot, but like, I did hear some of my other peers talk about it beforehand. It is what it is, That's what. If they won't say public schools, like Pearl just said, she went to a Catholic school, and then the other lady said she went to an all-girls school, so they didn't really feel pressure. It just depends on your environment, I guess.
In your school, if you did lose it.
No, but it was like hot gossip.
Right. Okay.
Like I went to a small Catholic school, and so like if you heard that someone because not a lot of people really were. I know the stereotypes with Catholic schools, but mine was more like innocent. I don't know.
What's the stereotype? I don't know. Tell us, Mel. What stereotype?
You've never heard that? Like they always say like Catholic schools are crazy, and I'm sure they are. Like some of them, but mine was like not like that. I don't know.
I personally have never heard that, but.
I mean, in my experience, church girls have probably been the freakiest girls I've ever had sex with. I won't lie.
I know that it's like I would just say it was kind of similar to like a small town where like if something happens, like everyone's talking about it.
So you see, like with virginity, do you guys think that when like talking about like your experience, Pearl, do you think that there's a pressure the pressure to lose your virginity creates a curiosity that just makes you want to do it. Is that what happened at your school?
I understand what he's saying. I think it does. Personally, I think it does create, curiosity. It's like if your friend, if you have a friend who smoked weed for the first time, and then they hear it about, oh, it made me feel great, da 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 da. Then it kind of makes you curious to want to try it too, to see how it do for you. At least that's how I look at it. But you guys let me know in the comments if that happened in y'all schools.
No. I mean,
No.
I would say maybe more for men, but not as much
Right.
for women. I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think like virginity nowadays is looked upon with ridicule if you're a virgin?
Definitely.
Guys,
Yeah.
For a guy or girl?
anyone,
No.
or both, either or.
I mean, I would say
Speak on it.
for a guy, yeah, it's kind of a little weird. You call them incels. But I would say for a girl, if she's 21 and she actually is a virgin, I think a lot of guys would probably not believe her, but if they know that to be a fact, they'd probably find that like really attractive.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think a virgin girl is attractive?
I mean, I think if a girl's attractive, she's attractive.
No, I'm saying, do you think it's attractive to a man?
I would say so.
You were going to say something. You were like, nah.
No, I'm not saying what he said wasn't right about a guy finding that attractive if she was 21 and a virgin, but I think all my friends lost their virginity at 14 or something, 15, and then I remember I lost my virginity a couple of days before my 18th, and I definitely felt like no one directly pressured me, or my friends weren't like, oh, go and do it, but it was kind of like you did feel like a ticking time bomb, because it did feel a little bit like when everyone's doing one thing, if you're doing something different, you feel a bit weird. So it's like when I was coming up to my 18th, it did feel like I was getting to the weird stage.
As many of you know, I was just banned on TikTok.
All right, that's the end of the video. So if you ask me, the whole pressure behind losing the virginity, it is a real thing. It depends on the school you go to, the type of school you go to. If you're probably in a Catholic school or all girls school or maybe all boys school, maybe there's not as much pressure, maybe. But me going to public school, yeah, that pressure was there. I could see it with some peers of mine. They probably talked about having sex, when they were 15, 16 at the time, during high school, and maybe even sooner than that, middle school. Now, I personally didn't feel pressured about it. It is what, I didn't really cave in. I wasn't really the type to cave in to peer pressure like that, but, I could see why, or I could see what they were saying in the video about, guys feeling more pressure to have sex for the first time versus a chick. So, I mean, this happens, this has probably been happening for generations. And I'm glad we have platforms like this to finally sit down and really have a genuine discussion about it without judging each other and without ridiculing each other for when you've had sex for the first time or if you still didn't. Me personally, I don't care if a person has or hasn't. It is what it is. I live and let live at the end of the day, but that's all I got to say about that. What do you guys think about this video? Let me know in the comments down below. Hit that like button, subscribe, and I'm out of here. Peace.